My beloved brothers and sisters, so much of our exhaustion comes from watching everyone else instead of working on ourselves. We explain our choices, chase people's approval, and measure our worth by how others treat us, forgetting that peace was never meant to come from the crowd. When your focus is scattered on people's opinions, comparisons, and expectations, your heart becomes heavy and restless. Allah never asked you to carry that burden. He asked you to take care of your own soul. When you turn your attention inward, correct your intentions, and strengthen your relationship with Allah, clarity begins to return. You stop reacting to noise. You stop proving yourself. You stop running after what was never meant for you. This is where growth begins, quietly, sincerely, and with trust that Allah is handling what you no longer need to chase. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand you. Many people exhaust themselves trying to explain their choices to those who have already decided not to understand them. Islam teaches us a freeing truth. Not every ear is meant to hear your story. When you explain yourself repeatedly to the wrong people, you slowly give away your peace. You begin to feel defensive, misunderstood, and emotionally drained. Allah never asked you to convince everyone. He asked you to walk with sincerity. When your intentions are pure, you do not need constant validation. Explaining yourself to people who don't understand you often comes from fear of being judged, rejected, or misrepresented. But faith replaces fear with trust. Trust that Allah knows your heart even when people don't. When you stop over-explaining, you reclaim your dignity. Your energy returns to where it belongs, improving yourself and strengthening your relationship with Allah. Silence in this case is not weakness, it is wisdom. Not everyone lacks understanding because they need more information. Some lack understanding because they lack sincerity. Islam teaches us to recognize the difference. When someone listens only to respond, not to understand, your explanations will never satisfy them. You can speak endlessly and still be misunderstood. This is why Allah teaches us to guard our words. Words are powerful, but they are also draining when wasted. Explaining yourself repeatedly to such people creates frustration and inner conflict. The heart becomes restless because it is seeking acceptance from the wrong source. Allah reminds us that acceptance from creation is unstable, but acceptance from Him is constant. When you stop explaining yourself to those who don't understand you, you redirect your need for validation toward Allah. This redirection calms the heart and strengthens faith. Over-explaining often leads to self-doubt. When people question your decisions repeatedly, you may start questioning yourself even when you were confident before. Islam teaches us that self-reflection is healthy, but self-doubt rooted in people's opinions is harmful. Allah gave you a mind, a conscience, and guidance through faith. If your decisions are made with sincerity and wisdom, you do not need approval from those who do not share your values. Explaining yourself to people who don't understand you invites unnecessary confusion. It shifts your focus from growth to defense. Growth requires calm, not constant justification. When you stop explaining yourself, you allow clarity to return. Clarity strengthens confidence. Confidence rooted in faith preserves dignity. There is also a spiritual cost to over-explaining. The more you explain yourself to people, the more you depend on their reactions. Islam teaches us to depend on Allah alone. When people become the audience of your life, your heart becomes anxious. You wait for reactions, approval, or reassurance. This waiting drains spiritual energy. Allah wants your heart attached to Him, not to people's opinions. When you stop explaining yourself, you break this attachment. You return your heart to Allah. This return brings peace. Peace strengthens Iman. A heart at peace does not feel the need to justify its every move. Some people misunderstand you because they see life through a different lens. Islam teaches us that guidance varies. Not everyone will understand your choices, especially when your choices are based on faith. Trying to explain faith-based decisions to those who do not value faith often leads to frustration. Allah does not require you to translate your conviction to everyone. He requires you to live it. Living with integrity speaks louder than explanations. When you stop explaining yourself, your actions become your message. Actions rooted in sincerity carry weight even in silence. Silence chosen with wisdom protects your dignity and avoids unnecessary conflict. Explaining yourself too much can also invite disrespect. When people see you constantly defending your choices, they may feel entitled to question them. Islam teaches us to set boundaries. Boundaries are not rude, they are protective. When you stop explaining yourself, you quietly set a boundary around your personal life and decisions. This boundary tells others that not everything is open for debate. Allah honors those who protect their dignity. Dignity preserved brings peace. Peace allows growth. Growth happens away from noise, not inside it. Another danger of over-explaining is emotional exhaustion. Each explanation requires energy, patience, and emotional effort. Islam teaches balance. You are not meant to pour endlessly into conversations that lead nowhere. When you explain yourself to people who don't understand you, you are investing energy without return. This imbalance drains the soul. Allah teaches us to invest wisely. When you stop explaining yourself unnecessarily, you conserve emotional strength. That strength can then be used for worship, self-improvement, and healing. Conservation of energy is wisdom. Stopping explanations also helps you accept reality. Some people will never understand you, no matter how clearly you speak. Islam teaches acceptance of what you cannot change. Acceptance is not defeat, it is peace. When you accept that understanding is not guaranteed, you free yourself from frustration. You stop trying to control others' perceptions. Control belongs to Allah alone. Letting go of control calms the heart. Calm hearts make wise decisions. Wise decisions protect dignity. When you stop explaining yourself, you also stop seeking permission to live your life. Islam teaches personal responsibility. You are accountable to Allah, not to everyone else. Explaining yourself repeatedly can feel like asking permission to exist as you are. This weakens self-respect. When you stop doing this, you stand firm in your values. Standing firm does not require loudness. It requires conviction. Conviction rooted in faith is quiet and strong. Allah supports those who stand firm for His sake. Silence also allows Allah to speak on your behalf. Islam teaches us that Allah is the best defender. When you stop explaining yourself, you make space for Allah's wisdom to unfold. Truth has a way of becoming clear without argument. People may eventually see your sincerity through consistency, or they may not. Either way, Allah sees. That is enough. Trusting Allah with your reputation removes a heavy burden from the heart. Burdens removed bring peace. Stopping explanations helps you avoid unnecessary arguments. Arguments rarely change hearts. Islam teaches us to avoid useless debate. When someone is committed to misunderstanding you, debate becomes a trap. Walking away with calmness is strength. Strength protects peace. Peace protects faith. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop feeding conflict. Conflict weakens the soul. Calmness strengthens it. Over time, you will notice that people who truly care will understand you without endless explanations. Islam teaches us that sincerity attracts sincerity. When you stop explaining yourself to the wrong people, you create space for the right people. These people listen with their hearts, not just their ears. They respect boundaries, they value character. Allah sends such people when the heart is ready. Stopping explanations is part of that readiness. Stopping explanations also improves your relationship with yourself. You stop feeling guilty for being misunderstood. You stop blaming yourself for others' lack of understanding. Islam teaches mercy toward oneself. Self-mercy heals the heart. A healed heart is calm. Calmness reduces anxiety. Reduced anxiety strengthens faith. This inner healing begins when you stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. When you no longer explain yourself, you learn to speak with intention. Words become meaningful again. Islam teaches us that every word is recorded. Speaking less but wisely is a sign of maturity. Mature faith does not argue for its place. It lives quietly with confidence. Allah loves such hearts. In the end, stopping explanations is not about silence alone. It is about trust. Trust that Allah knows your intentions, sees your efforts, and understands you completely. When you trust Allah this deeply, people's misunderstanding loses its power. Your heart remains steady, your dignity remains intact, and your path continues forward without the weight of unnecessary words. Stop chasing approval that drains your dignity. Chasing approval slowly drains your dignity because it places your self-worth in unstable hands. When your peace depends on people's opinions, your heart becomes restless. One moment of praise lifts you, and one moment of criticism breaks you. Islam teaches us that dignity comes from Allah, not from applause. Allah honored you before people ever noticed you. When you chase approval, you unknowingly give others the power to decide how you should feel about yourself. This power was never meant to belong to creation. It belongs to the Creator. A believer who understands this begins to protect their heart. They stop adjusting themselves to be liked and start aligning themselves with faith. This alignment brings peace. Peace restores dignity, and dignity is the quiet strength that keeps a believer steady even when approval disappears. Approval seeking often begins with good intentions but ends with exhaustion. You want to be accepted, respected, or appreciated, so you explain yourself too much, give more than you should, and silence your own discomfort. Islam does not teach self-erasure in the name of kindness. Kindness without self-respect becomes self-harm. When you chase approval, you may tolerate behavior that hurts your soul just to stay included. Over time, this tolerance weakens confidence and creates resentment. Allah never asked you to lose yourself to keep others comfortable. He asked you to stand with truth and patience. When you stop chasing approval, you begin to feel lighter. Your heart no longer carries the pressure of pleasing everyone. This relief is a sign that dignity is returning. Chasing approval also blurs your values. To be accepted, you may slowly compromise what you once stood for. Islam teaches us that values rooted in faith should remain firm. When approval becomes the goal, principles become flexible. This flexibility creates inner conflict. The heart knows something is wrong, even if the mind tries to justify it. That conflict steals peace. Allah wants His servants to live with integrity, not performance. When you stop chasing approval, your actions realign with your beliefs. Alignment brings clarity. Clarity brings calm. Calm restores dignity. A believer with dignity does not need to announce their worth. It is felt through consistency and character. Another danger of chasing approval is emotional dependence. You begin waiting for reactions, responses, and recognition. Islam teaches us independence of the heart through reliance on Allah. Emotional dependence weakens faith because it ties peace to people instead of Allah. When people withdraw approval, anxiety enters. This anxiety grows because the heart has learned to seek reassurance externally. Allah wants your reassurance to come from Him. When you stop chasing approval, you break this dependency. You become emotionally stronger. Strength does not mean hardness, it means stability. A stable heart can face criticism without collapsing. This stability protects dignity. Chasing approval also keeps you stuck. You hesitate to grow, change, or move forward because you fear losing acceptance. Islam teaches courage through trust in Allah. When you trust Allah, you do not fear people's reactions. Fear shrinks the soul. Trust expands it. When you stop chasing approval, you give yourself permission to grow. Growth may upset some people, but Allah supports it. Growth guided by faith strengthens character. Strong character preserves honor. Honor rooted in faith is unshakable. Approval seeking often leads to over-explaining. You feel the need to justify every decision so others will agree. Islam teaches us that not everyone needs to understand you. Allah understands you fully. When you stop chasing approval, explanations become unnecessary. Silence becomes comfortable. This silence is not arrogance. It is confidence in Allah's knowledge of your intentions. Confidence restores dignity. Dignity allows you to speak only when it benefits and remain quiet when it protects peace. When you chase approval, you may also ignore your own needs. You prioritize others' comfort over your own well-being. Islam teaches balance. Balance requires listening to your heart. A heart that is constantly ignored becomes tired. Tired hearts lose joy. Allah wants your heart healthy, not drained. When you stop chasing approval, you begin honoring your emotional limits. This honor is an act of faith. Faith-based self-respect strengthens dignity. Chasing approval invites manipulation. When people sense that you need their acceptance, they may control you knowingly or unknowingly. Islam teaches us to guard our hearts. When you stop chasing approval, manipulation loses power. You become less reactive and more discerning. Discernment protects peace. Peace protects faith. Faith protects dignity. This chain strengthens the believer from within. Another effect of approval seeking is constant comparison. You compare yourself to others to see if you measure up. Islam teaches contentment. Contentment grows when you stop measuring yourself by people's standards. Allah created you with a unique path. When you stop chasing approval, you walk your path confidently. Confidence rooted in faith is humble and calm. It does not compete. It progresses quietly. Quiet progress preserves dignity. Stopping approval seeking also improves your relationship with Allah. When people's approval matters less, Allah's approval matters more. Islam teaches us that seeking Allah's pleasure is the highest goal. When your heart shifts toward Allah, worship becomes sincere. Sincerity strengthens Iman. Strong Iman stabilizes emotions. Stable emotions protect dignity. Letting go of approval seeking also heals self-talk. You stop blaming yourself for not being enough for others. Islam teaches mercy toward oneself. Mercy heals wounds created by rejection. When you show yourself mercy, Allah increases His mercy toward you. This mercy calms the heart. calm hearts are dignified hearts. Over time, you notice that the right people remain even when you stop chasing approval. Islam teaches us that sincerity attracts sincerity. When you stop performing, those who value your truth stay. Those who needed your approval seeking leave. This separation is mercy. It protects your dignity and peace. Chasing approval keeps you busy pleasing others. Stopping it frees energy for growth, worship, and healing. Islam teaches us to invest energy wisely. Wise investment brings barakah. Barakah enriches life quietly. Quiet enrichment strengthens dignity without noise. When you stop chasing approval, criticism no longer terrifies you. You listen if it helps and let go if it harms. This emotional balance is strength. Allah loves balanced hearts. Balanced hearts endure trials without losing themselves. In the end, stopping approval seeking restores dignity because it returns your worth to where it belongs with Allah. People may praise or criticize, but your heart remains steady. You live with integrity, patience, and calm confidence. And that dignity, protected by faith, is a strength no opinion can ever take away. Detach from distractions and protect your energy. Detaching from distractions is not about isolating yourself from life. It is about protecting the energy Allah entrusted to you. Islam teaches us that time, focus, and emotional strength are amana. When distractions dominate your day, your heart becomes scattered. You start reacting instead of reflecting, consuming instead of growing. Many distractions feel harmless, but they quietly drain attention from what truly matters. Allah never asked you to be everywhere or involved in everything. He asked you to be sincere, present, and purposeful. When you detach from unnecessary noise, your heart begins to settle. Energy that was once wasted returns. With that energy, worship improves, patience increases, and clarity emerges. Protecting your energy is an act of faith because it honors what Allah has given you. Detachment is not rejection of people, it is selection of priorities. When priorities align with faith, peace follows naturally. Distractions often disguise themselves as obligations. You feel pressured to respond, engage, explain, and entertain endlessly. Islam teaches balance, not burnout. When you allow every message, opinion, or demand to pull at you, your energy fragments. Fragmented energy weakens focus and increases stress. Detaching means choosing what deserves your attention and releasing what does not. Allah does not reward exhaustion, He rewards intention and consistency. When you detach from distractions, you regain control over your inner world. This control brings calm. Calm strengthens faith. Faith guides decisions. Protecting your energy ensures that your efforts are meaningful rather than scattered. Meaningful effort carries barakah. Barakah multiplies peace even when responsibilities remain many. Detachment also protects your emotional energy. Emotional distractions come from arguments, comparisons, and constant exposure to negativity. Islam teaches us to guard the heart. When the heart is overstimulated emotionally, it becomes reactive. Reactivity drains strength. Detaching from emotional distractions allows the heart to rest. Rest is not laziness, it is renewal. Allah renews hearts that step away from unnecessary emotional battles. When you stop engaging in every disagreement or drama, your energy stabilizes, stability improves character. Good character is beloved to Allah. Protecting emotional energy allows you to respond with wisdom rather than impulse. Wisdom preserves dignity and peace. Many distractions come from seeking validation. You check, compare, and wait for responses. Islam teaches us to seek Allah's approval first. When you detach from validation-seeking distractions, your energy returns inward. This inward focus strengthens self-awareness. Self-awareness improves intention. Improved intention strengthens worship. Worship rooted in focus is powerful. Detachment breaks the cycle of constant checking and comparing. Without that cycle, anxiety reduces. Reduced anxiety frees mental space. That space allows reflection. Reflection leads to growth. Growth strengthens faith. Protecting your energy from validation distractions is protection of your iman. Detaching from distractions also means limiting exposure to noise. Noise does not only mean sound, it means mental clutter. Endless information overwhelms the mind. Islam teaches simplicity. Simplicity clears the heart. When you detach from excessive information, your thoughts slow down. Slow thoughts become clear thoughts. Clear thoughts lead to wise action. Wise action protects peace. Allah guides hearts that are not constantly distracted. Guidance is easier to receive when the heart is quiet. Protecting your energy through simplicity is a form of gratitude. It shows appreciation for the clarity Allah provides. Distractions also pull you away from presence. Presence is essential for prayer, relationships, and self-growth. Islam teaches presence through khushu. When you are distracted, even worship feels rushed. Detaching allows you to be fully present. Presence deepens connection with Allah. This connection replenishes energy rather than draining it. Many people feel tired because they are constantly distracted, not because they are doing too much. When you detach, you notice your energy returning. Returned energy allows better focus on obligations. Focus improves outcomes. Allah places ease in focused effort. Protecting energy through presence strengthens both faith and daily life. Detachment also teaches discipline. Discipline is choosing long-term peace over short-term stimulation. Islam values discipline because it strengthens the soul. When you detach from distractions, you train your heart to say no. Saying no protects energy. Protected energy supports consistency. Consistency builds trust with Allah. Allah loves consistent actions, even if small. Detachment helps maintain consistency by reducing interruptions. Interruptions weaken progress. Progress requires uninterrupted effort. Protecting energy through discipline brings stability. Stability supports patience. Patience strengthens iman. Some distractions come from people who constantly demand attention without offering peace. Islam teaches us to choose company wisely. Detaching from draining connections is not cruelty, it is wisdom. Wisdom protects energy. When you stop engaging with what drains you, you feel lighter. Lightness improves mood. Improved mood enhances worship. Allah does not want His servants emotionally depleted. He wants them balanced. Detachment restores balance. Balance preserves dignity. Dignity strengthens faith. Detaching from distractions also improves gratitude. When distractions fade, blessings become visible. Islam teaches gratitude as a path to increase. Increased gratitude enriches the heart. A grateful heart is content. Contentment reduces the desire for constant stimulation. Reduced stimulation protects energy. Energy used wisely produces peace. Peace deepens faith. This cycle begins with detachment. Detachment strengthens boundaries. Boundaries are limits that protect peace. Islam allows boundaries because they prevent harm. When you detach from distractions, boundaries become clearer. Clear boundaries reduce stress. Reduced stress preserves energy. Preserved energy improves focus. Focus strengthens decision making. Good decisions align with faith. Allah blesses decisions made with clarity and calm. Detaching from distractions also heals the mind. The mind recovers when it is not constantly pulled in different directions. Islam encourages reflection. Reflection requires quiet. Quiet restores mental strength. Mental strength supports emotional balance. Emotional balance protects dignity. Dignity reinforces faith. Protecting energy through mental detachment is protection of the soul. When you detach, you stop confusing busyness with productivity. Islam teaches purposeful action. Purposeful action requires focus. Focus is impossible when distracted. Detachment allows you to work on what truly matters. Matters tied to faith bring long-term peace. Peace strengthens patience. Patience supports perseverance. Allah rewards perseverance rooted in sincerity. Detachment also allows healing. Healing needs space. Space appears when distractions are removed. Islam teaches healing through patience and trust. Detachment creates room for both. When healing occurs, energy returns. Returned energy fuels growth. Growth strengthens Iman. Strong Iman stabilizes life. Protecting energy through detachment also improves self-respect. When you stop giving energy to everything, you value yourself more. Islam honors self-respect because it reflects trust in Allah's provision. A self-respecting believer chooses carefully. Careful choices protect peace. Peace nurtures faith. Faith sustains strength. In the end, detaching from distractions and protecting your energy is not about escaping life. It is about living it wisely. When your energy is protected, your faith grows stronger, your heart becomes calmer, and your path becomes clearer. Allah blesses hearts that choose focus over noise, intention over impulse, and peace over constant distraction. Growth begins when comparison ends. Growth begins the moment a believer stops measuring their life against the lives of others. Comparison distracts the heart from its own journey and places unnecessary pressure on the soul. Islam teaches us that Allah created every person with a unique path, timeline and test. When you constantly compare, you begin to question Allah's wisdom instead of trusting it. You look at what others have and forget what Allah has given you. This forgetfulness weakens gratitude and increases dissatisfaction. True growth requires focus, and comparison steals that focus. When you stop looking sideways and start looking inward, you finally see where you need to improve. Allah does not ask you to compete with others. He asks you to become better than you were yesterday. Once comparison ends, the heart becomes lighter, the mind becomes calmer, and growth begins naturally, guided by faith rather than envy. Comparison often creates a false sense of delay. You may feel behind simply because someone else reached a milestone earlier. Islam teaches us that timing is part of Allah's decree. What arrives early for one may arrive later for another, and both are equally meaningful. When you compare timelines, you pressure yourself to rush outcomes that Allah planned with precision. This rush leads to frustration and poor decisions. Growth cannot thrive in anxiety. When comparison ends, patience replaces panic. Patience allows steady progress. Allah loves steady effort more than rushed results. Ending comparison teaches the heart to respect divine timing. Respecting timing strengthens trust. Trust calms the heart, and a calm heart grows faster than an anxious one. Comparison also distorts self-worth. You may begin to believe your value is lower because someone else appears more successful, loved, or confident. Islam teaches us that worth is not measured by visible achievements. Allah values sincerity, effort, and intention. These qualities are often hidden. When you compare, you ignore your unseen strengths and focus on others' visible outcomes. This focus damages confidence. Growth requires confidence rooted in faith, not in appearances. When comparison ends, self-worth stabilizes. You begin appreciating your efforts even if they are quiet. Allah sees quiet effort clearly. Knowing this restores confidence. Confidence fuels growth. Growth rooted in faith is healthy and lasting. Comparison also invites envy, which quietly harms the heart. Islam warns us about envy because it blinds us to blessings. When you compare constantly, blessings feel small. Nothing seems enough. This dissatisfaction blocks growth. A dissatisfied heart cannot progress because it is always looking elsewhere. When comparison ends, gratitude returns. Gratitude changes perspective. You begin to see progress instead of lack. Allah increases blessings in grateful hearts. Increased blessings create motivation. Motivation drives growth. Growth built on gratitude is peaceful, not bitter. When comparison controls the heart, contentment disappears. Islam teaches contentment as a form of wealth. A content heart is rich even with little. Comparison creates poverty of the soul even when there is abundance. Growth needs contentment because contentment allows focus. Focus strengthens effort. Effort aligned with faith produces results. When comparison ends, contentment grows. Contentment removes pressure. Without pressure, the believer can improve calmly. Calm improvement lasts longer than forced progress. Comparison also weakens sincerity. When you compare, your actions may shift from pleasing Allah to proving yourself to people. Islam teaches us that sincerity is the foundation of every good deed. Growth without sincerity becomes hollow. When comparison ends, intentions become pure again. You improve because you want to please Allah, not to surpass others. This intention brings barakah. Barakah multiplies results without exhaustion. Growth with barakah feels lighter. Allah places barakah in actions done quietly for His sake. Comparison keeps you trapped in distraction. You watch others instead of working on yourself. Islam teaches responsibility over distraction. When you stop comparing, your energy returns to your own life. This energy fuels learning, self-correction, and worship. Growth requires energy. Comparison wastes it. Ending comparison protects your energy. Protected energy leads to consistency. Consistency leads to transformation. Allah loves consistent effort. Transformation rooted in consistency is real growth. Comparison also makes you unfair to yourself. You judge your behind-the-scenes struggles against others' highlights. Islam teaches justice, including justice toward oneself. When comparison ends, self-compassion begins. You acknowledge your struggles without shame. This honesty allows healing. Healing supports growth. A healed heart learns faster and grows stronger. Allah does not expect perfection. He expects sincerity. Ending comparison helps you accept your imperfections while still improving. Comparison weakens faith when it leads to questioning Allah's fairness. Islam teaches us that Allah is perfectly just. When you compare, you may ask why someone else has what you want. This questioning creates inner unrest. When comparison ends, trust returns. Trust strengthens Iman. Strong Iman brings peace. Peace creates space for growth. Growth flourishes in peaceful hearts. When comparison ends, relationships improve. You stop seeing others as competitors and start seeing them as companions on different paths. Islam encourages goodwill toward others. Growth becomes cooperative rather than competitive. You learn from others without resenting them. Learning accelerates growth. Allah blesses hearts free from jealousy. A blessed heart grows steadily. Ending comparison also restores humility. You stop placing yourself above or below others. Islam teaches balance. Humility keeps the heart grounded. Grounded hearts grow deeply, not superficially. Growth without humility becomes arrogance. Growth with humility becomes wisdom. Allah grants wisdom to those who are humble. Comparison also delays gratitude for progress already made. Islam teaches us to recognize blessings. When comparison ends, you celebrate small victories. These celebrations encourage further effort. Encouragement strengthens perseverance. Perseverance sustains growth. Allah rewards perseverance rooted in patience. When comparison ends, self-awareness increases. You become aware of your strengths and weaknesses without judgment. Islam encourages self-accountability. Self-accountability directs growth wisely. Wise growth avoids burnout. Allah guides those who seek improvement sincerely. Ending comparison also protects mental peace. Mental peace supports clarity. Clarity improves decisions. Better decisions accelerate growth. Islam teaches us that peace is a blessing. Growth that costs peace is not true growth. Ending comparison preserves peace while allowing progress. In the end, growth truly begins when comparison ends, because the heart finally faces the right direction. When you stop looking at others and start walking your path with faith, patience, and trust, Allah guides your steps. Your progress becomes steady, your heart becomes calm, and your growth becomes sincere. And that kind of growth, rooted in faith and contentment, lasts far beyond any comparison. When you focus on yourself, Allah takes care of the rest. When you focus on yourself, you begin to understand what Allah truly asks from you. Islam does not require you to manage everyone's opinions, reactions, or outcomes. Allah asks you to correct your intentions, improve your actions, and guard your heart. When your attention is scattered on people, you feel overwhelmed because you are carrying responsibilities that were never yours. Focusing on yourself means returning responsibility to its rightful place. You work on your character, your worship, and your growth, and you trust Allah with everything else. This shift brings relief. The heart becomes lighter because it is no longer trying to control what cannot be controlled. Allah promises that when you take care of what is within your ability, He takes care of what is beyond it. This promise is real. Peace begins when you finally let Allah handle what only He can manage. Many people delay focusing on themselves because they are busy fixing others or proving something to them. Islam teaches that guidance comes from Allah, not from force. When you focus on yourself, you stop wasting energy on changing people who are not ready. That energy is redirected towards self-correction. Self-correction is beloved to Allah. A believer who works on themselves sincerely grows spiritually and emotionally. Growth attracts ease. Allah opens doors that effort alone could not open. When you focus on yourself, you stop chasing outcomes. Outcomes come naturally because Allah arranges them. This is not neglect, it is trust. Trust strengthens faith. Faith brings calm. Calm allows progress. Allah takes care of the rest without noise or struggle. Focusing on yourself also removes constant comparison. You stop watching others and start walking your own path. Islam teaches that every soul has its own journey. When you focus inward, you recognize your responsibilities clearly. You become accountable to Allah instead of to people. This accountability strengthens discipline. Discipline improves consistency. Consistency brings barakah. Allah places barakah in efforts done quietly for His sake. When barakah enters your life, results multiply without exhaustion. This is how Allah takes care of the rest, by adding unseen goodness to sincere effort. When you focus on yourself, your intentions become clearer. Islam teaches that actions are judged by intentions. When attention is on others, intentions become mixed. You may act to impress, compete, or defend. When you focus on yourself, actions become pure. Pure intentions attract Allah's help. Allah supports those who work sincerely even when no one is watching. This support may appear as ease, protection, or guidance. Often it appears quietly. You may not notice it immediately, but over time you see how things worked out without forcing them. That is Allah taking care of the rest. Focusing on yourself also improves emotional balance. You stop reacting to every word and behavior. Islam teaches restraint and patience. When you focus on your own responses rather than others' actions, emotional strength grows. Strength does not mean hardness, it means stability. Stable emotions allow wise decisions. Wise decisions prevent regret. Allah loves wisdom. When you practice emotional discipline, Allah protects you from unnecessary harm. This protection is part of how He takes care of the rest. You may avoid conflicts you never even knew were waiting for you. When you focus on yourself, your relationship with Allah deepens. You pray with more sincerity because you are no longer distracted by people's expectations. Islam teaches presence in worship. Presence increases connection. Connection strengthens Iman. Strong Iman brings peace. Peace allows clarity. With clarity, life becomes simpler. Problems do not disappear, but they feel manageable. Allah manages what you release to Him. This release is an act of trust. Trust invites divine help. Divine help changes outcomes. Focusing on yourself also restores dignity. You stop begging for approval and stop explaining yourself endlessly. Islam honors dignity because Allah created humans with honor. When you protect your dignity, Allah protects you. You no longer feel the need to chase validation. You work quietly, improve consistently, and let Allah speak for you. Over time, people notice your calm confidence. Even if they don't, it no longer matters. Allah sees. That is enough. Allah takes care of your reputation when you stop defending it unnecessarily. When you focus on yourself, you also protect your energy. Islam teaches moderation. Energy wasted on gossip, arguments, and distractions drains the soul. When you focus inward, energy is used for growth and worship. Growth strengthens patience. Patience invites reward. Allah rewards patience generously. Sometimes the reward is peace before it is material ease. This peace allows you to move forward without anxiety. Anxiety fades when trust increases. Trust reminds you that Allah is handling what you cannot. Focusing on yourself also brings acceptance. You accept what you cannot change and work on what you can. Islam teaches acceptance as wisdom. Acceptance prevents frustration. Frustration weakens the heart. A calm heart grows stronger. When you accept others as they are and focus on yourself, relationships become lighter. You no longer carry resentment or expectation. Allah removes heaviness from your heart because you released control. That release allows Allah to arrange matters gently. When you focus on yourself, growth becomes natural instead of forced. Islam teaches gradual improvement. Gradual growth lasts longer. When you stop rushing outcomes and focus on effort, Allah aligns timing. Timing is part of His mercy. What comes at the right time brings peace. What comes early may bring stress. Allah knows when to give and when to withhold. Trusting this wisdom allows you to focus on preparation rather than panic. Preparation attracts success. Success with peace is a blessing. Focusing on yourself also strengthens self-respect. You learn your limits and honor them. Islam allows boundaries to prevent harm. When you respect yourself, others either adjust or drift away. Both outcomes are mercy. Allah removes what drains you and keeps what benefits you. This is how He takes care of the rest. You may not see it immediately, but clarity follows separation. When you focus on yourself, you stop living in anticipation of others' reactions. You live in alignment with your values. Islam teaches sincerity over performance. Living sincerely feels lighter. Lightness reduces fear. Fearlessness strengthens faith. Allah supports hearts that are not enslaved by people's opinions. Support may come as courage, resilience, or unexpected opportunities. Allah's help often arrives quietly. Focusing on yourself also improves gratitude. You notice progress instead of lack. Islam teaches gratitude as a key to increase. Increased gratitude brings contentment. Contentment protects peace. Peace stabilizes life. When you are content, you stop chasing what others have. Allah blesses content hearts with sufficiency. Sufficiency removes desperation. Desperation weakens faith. Contentment strengthens it. When you focus on yourself, healing begins. Healing requires space and patience. Islam teaches healing through trust and remembrance. When distractions reduce, wounds surface and heal. Healing restores strength. Strength supports consistency. Consistency builds character. Character attracts respect without asking for it. Allah elevates character quietly. This elevation is Allah taking care of the rest. In the end, when you focus on yourself for the sake of Allah, you realize how little you were meant to carry. Allah was always handling what you feared. He was arranging what you worried about. When you finally trust Him fully, your heart rests. And when the heart rests with Allah, life aligns in ways you never had to force. My dear brothers and sisters, when you finally stop watching others and start working on yourself, life becomes lighter. You realize that not every opinion deserves your attention and not every person deserves access to your heart. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, it is responsibility. It is taking care of the soul Allah entrusted to you. When your intentions are sincere and your effort is consistent, Allah handles the outcomes far better than you ever could. You don't need to rush, prove, or compete anymore. Walk your path with patience, improve quietly, and trust deeply. Because when you focus on becoming better for the sake of Allah, He aligns your life in ways you never had to force.